Welcome to the Freedom Club Podcast, where we discover the fight for freedom, fulfillment, passion, and purpose. Your host is Kurt Mercadante, Gallup certified strengths coach, an agency founder who is dedicated to coaching individuals seeking to level up their life and their businesses. The Freedom Club is about unlocking your talents, turning them into strengths, and crushing your objectives. You can learn more at kurtmercadante.com. Welcome to the Freedom Club.
This is the Freedom Club Podcast. I'm your host, Kurt Mercadante. It is Monday, May 7th, which means it's time for the Monday Motivator segment. Every Monday, I share a short burst of motivation to help you kick your week off on the right foot. Every Thursday is the interview segment, in which I interview a business leader or some other all-around interesting person. And for today's Monday Motivator, I'd like to talk to you about time. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably saw my video yesterday. I know that topic of time is in the front of my brain this week. That video shared a snippet from a panel discussion I was part of last week at LinkedIn Local Plano. And, a woman had asked, we were talking specifically about creating videos, and she said, listen, I have a corporate job, I have a 9-to-5, I have a side hustle that I would create videos for, but I just can't find the time to do that. And that challenge, I just can't find the time for things. I wish I had more time is like the number one challenge people say they face, when they come to me for coaching. There's just not enough time in the day. And I tell them, and I'm telling you right now, it is absolutely possible. It's not magic to create more time in your day. And as I said in my video yesterday, it comes down to focusing on outcomes instead of inputs. Focus on the desired outcome for your life. Go into every day with a sense of intention that you're going to focus on the outcomes, the absolute essential outcomes for your day. Those outcomes that if you achieve them, you will have won the day. And then find the straightest, shortest path to get there. So many of us, even if we do know our outcomes, we have more of a squiggly line to get there, right? Because we do 3 inputs when we could do 1. And a lot of times those inputs are driven by external expectations, a mentality that, well, this is the way it's always been done, so I'm not going to think for myself. I'm just going to do the way it's always been done, which many times is extremely inefficient. I've had clients, I've worked for employers who, hey, we got to get something done, so we got to have 3 meetings. We need meetings to plan for the meetings, plan for the phone call to plan for the meetings. And the notion, the completely ludicrous belief that these meetings equal progress leads to the fact that, and I said this in my video, that when you really look at it and when you audit your day, when you start focusing on those outcomes and work backwards to figure out that shortest line to get to those outcomes, you realize that for many of us, 70% of our days are bullshit. And that number might be a little bit low. And there was a lot of laughter, a lot of agreement in the room as well. There were some people who probably had disbelief. For someone who's feels like they're trapped in a workplace, a lifestyle, a career that feels more like a prison than a business, it's hard to imagine a day in which you can really focus on those essential outcomes and get there. 13 years ago, when I went out on my own and I started working for myself, I found that, and I had like 3 or 4 clients to start with, I found myself finishing work by noon. I'm a very quick, efficient worker. But I had been taught and conditioned for so many years to be focused on those outputs. No, you got to start at 8:30, you got to leave at 6. And that's focusing on inputs. That when I was done by noon, I felt a sense of guilt. Oh my gosh, I must be doing something wrong. I can't be done at noon. So I filled up the rest of my day with bullshit, with busy work, with inputs that didn't need to be done. And it took me a long time to figure out that is the wrong way to go through life. And so now, so many years later, I have broken into a life of freedom and fulfillment. And some days, my outcome for the day is, I have 1 or 2 really big work items to get done, but I allot only a certain amount of time to do that because my outcome for the day, one of my desired outcomes for the day, is spending 4 hours at the beach with my kids, because that is important. That is an essential outcome to me for that day. And another thing I spoke about in my talk last week is something called Parkinson's Law. And that's this, that the time to complete a task will always equal the time you allot for that task. So on those days when my desired outcome is to go to the beach for 4 hours and I have 2 big work items to get done, I don't allot 8 hours to get those work items done. I got to be done by noon, because then I'm going to eat lunch with my family and head to the beach. And when I allot an hour for a project, it usually takes me an hour. Sometimes I'll bring it down to a half hour. It may take me a half hour. Now, that's not across the board, but it can be applied pretty damn consistently across the board. And so we waste a lot of time because we are so focused on the inputs that we're not focused on that straightest, shortest, most efficient, simplistic line to get from A to B, with B being our desired outcomes for the day. So first, you have to have a clearly defined vision, a purpose for where you want to go. And that makes it much easier to have a sense of purpose every single day, to go into each day intentionally with the sense that you're going to win the day, that you control the day rather than letting the day control you, right? Then, for each day, you clearly define your desired outcomes for that day. Then you have the discipline to do it. Listen, if I'm in front of my computer, I'm going to be on the computer. So when I'm done achieving my outcomes, I close that computer and I get the hell out of my office. I'm not going to sit in my office just because there's a mentality out there that you got to sit there from 9 to 5. No, I'm focused on my outcomes. I get up and I leave, right? Then once you know those outcomes, again, it's finding that straightest line possible to get there. So I am focused like a laser on time because it is the number one challenge that my clients come to me with. But it's also, an ongoing battle that I wage for control of my day. And so that myself and my family can live lives of freedom and fulfillment, that I fought hard for. And so if you are someone for whom creating that time is a challenge, you can't even possibly imagine maybe creating more time in your day, please send me a message, send me an email. Later this month, I'm actually launching a 3-part mini course called Create More Time. If you're interested, send me a note, tweet me, Facebook me, send me a message on LinkedIn, send me an email at cdm@kurtmercadante.com. I'll give you more information. But helping you create more time will help me fulfill my mission of helping individuals fight for lives of freedom and fulfillment, because taking control of your day, focusing on those outcomes instead of the inputs, is such a key portion of having that freedom and fulfillment in your life. Having that sense of purpose, that sense of passion, that you're not stuck in a prison and instead you're living life to the fullest, living life on your terms. So I want to thank you so much for listening to this Monday Motivator segment of the Freedom Club podcast. I'm your host, Kurt Mercadante. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.